Hi friends and family, welcome to the Witczak farm. We've been planning on doing videos for a while now just to share a little bit about our property with our friends and our family. So I'm going to start posting a series of YouTube videos just talking about our off-grid living and about our homestead. Eric and I bought a property in 2019 that is about 18 acres, 13 of which are forested, and our plan is to have this be our retirement property. We both work full-time right now, but we have a lot of goals for this property and we're pretty excited about it. And when we purchased it in 2019, we had plans of bringing friends and family up to visit and get to see a little bit more about off-grid living and share it with our friends. But of course COVID hit and it's been a little more challenging, and so we decided to make a series of videos to post on YouTube just to kind of share information about what we're doing and kind of share our triumphs and our challenges as we go and as we learn. And there's been a lot of learning involved. A learning curve is pretty deep. As you can hear behind me, one of the things that we purchased for our property was cows, right? My granddaughter's helping out today. Her name's Lily. And we decided on on Highland cows. We have a Dexter here, but it is the neighbor's cow. She's just staying here because she doesn't have any other buddies and it's easier for her to be with other cows. But we chose Highlands primarily because this is a very wooded property, and we wanted cows that would be good for foraging and keeping our property clean, and eventually we're hoping to breed them, and we will have babies. I will be doing a series of videos about the Highland cattle. They're primarily a meat cow, but ours are for foraging and they are pets. And as many of you know, I'm a vegetarian. I have no plans on eating these guys. But we have a very wooded and very overgrown property, and they are one of the best breeds to be used for that. And they're also a very hardy breed. JC's the most, is actually, I'll turn the camera around, our neighbor's cow. And then we have Juno right here. She's really become Eric's baby. And then Jade is over there, and then Jenny, who is a little escape artist. So for right now, Jenny has been hanging out down with our foster goats. So we also have some goats that have been living here, and we're taking care of them. They're not ours. We're taking care of them for a friend. And so those goats are keeping Jenny, keeping her company until we can get her moved back over here. We just don't trust her. She keeps getting out of the fencing. This section is about 8 acres, I believe, that's fenced off. There was some existing fencing. We ran some additional fencing, but we also need to run some electric fencing. These girls have been pretty good about staying in. JC got out the other night, but for the most part, they're pretty good about staying in. We are about 2.5 miles away from any kind of main roads, so they're pretty safe here. That is a big pile of trees that were cleared on our neighbor's property. So our fence line starts along here. You may. And like I said, we're working on getting more fencing done. That was one of our little challenges, is discovering that this type of fencing isn't going to keep the cows in. We use something called stays, which have been really helpful at kind of securing the fence a little better, but we will be running electric fencing around the entire perimeter so that we can get more cows and not worry about them getting out into our neighbor's property. He just recently cleared this. Lily was asking about it. I don't know if he's going to burn that or what he's going to do to get rid of that brush, but it was pretty overgrown over this side as well. The Highlands are also extremely docile, very mellow, gentle cows, and so we really love having them here. The other cow that's here, the black one, is a Dexter. That's what our previous neighbor had bred and used for meat, and we looked into both breeds, but really found that the Highlands were going to be a better fit for our family. Plus, they're hairy and cute, and everybody loves Highlands. So, but we've really enjoyed them. What's up, Juno? They're absolute loves. So we're going to walk the perimeter of the property, or at least the entry area of our property, so you can kind of get a glimpse as to what it looks like. And what you'll see when you approach. That's the road that we drive down. And again, we're about 2.5 miles up a logging road, so we have an easement. Our neighbor's road is right there. This is ours, and we share this road with 3 other properties, and they have easements on our property. So everybody pretty much has easements on each other's properties. So there's a total of 5 other households that live up on this mountain. And so it's pretty quiet up here, and we trust everybody. We don't have to lock up or worry about things like that like you would in town. Eric and I owned a home in Salem for over 20 years, and we really just dreamed of having a farm. And I started looking more into homesteading a few years ago, watching a lot of videos and doing a lot to learn about it, and decided that that was really what we wanted, was to have a homestead and live more of a clean and simple life. We have well water here and spring water. We are completely off grid, so we use solar panels for our electricity, and we also use a generator with propane for additional fuel, and I'll go into more details about that in the future as well. But here is the start of our property, the far corner, and as I mentioned before, it kind of goes down to the far end of that corner.
I really wish I could get some shade right now.
And this is the road to the property. Eric's been working on fixing some of the fencing that's loosened up a little bit. We had snow and it brought down some trees and shrubs, and so that kind of put some strain on our fencing. We picked up this little mule for $500, and it's been a really good source of transportation up and down the property when we have to run down to the barn on a snowy day. It's it's 4-wheel drive, and so it's been real beneficial little.
And sometimes snow gets in the faces.
Yeah, in our faces when that happens. It does happen.
That's not my favorite time.
So here's one gate at the lower end of our property. One access to the enclosure where the cows are, and the other one's up by our house. We keep their supplement tubs and their water and things up by the house. And these girls know that there might be treats involved, so they're really good at following us around. Hi, girls.
They smell where we are, too.
They do. I'd forgotten that JC doesn't like bananas, and she spit at me when I tried to give her a banana a little bit ago. Hey, Jade. They're very curious. They're very friendly. It's definitely a good breed. I'll be doing a whole series on the Highland cows and what we've learned about them. But they've proven to be really good livestock to have on the property. And I never saw myself as a cow owner. But we absolutely adore them. They've become our pets, and we really love them. So that is a big rock. We use that to kind of block in the corner of that fencing just to secure it. We want to keep walking down here. Our neighbors have an animal sanctuary. They do rescue, and they have
pigs.
They have pigs. They have 2 giant pigs that are, 800 to 1,000 pounds. Big pigs.
One's nice and one's not nice.
Yeah. Ooh. And more of our forested area that you'll see the cows have a good area to run. Sounds like somebody's doing some shooting in the background. Hopefully that won't upset Summer too much. We'll have to go check on her. It might be scary for her. One of our dogs doesn't like gunshots, and people are able to do shooting out here. We do target practice out here, but it does upset one of our dogs quite a bit, so we have to watch that. They have cleared out a lot of this area. You'll see in there between the trees, that was really full of brush. We are expecting or planning to increase our fold. Yes, our neighbors also have ponies. They have little miniature horses.
And one bited my finger once.
Yeah, and they're very cute.
And that hurted my finger.
And now normally on a clear day, you'd be able to see right across that ravine. And on the other side, there's a forested area that's owned by the Abbey, Mount Angel Abbey. Today is very foggy, and sometimes deep down in the ravine it gets the most foggy. So up here by our house it's not so bad, but down below it's pretty foggy. I'm not sure the names of these ponies, but they're sure cute. We love them. They're
And one time
nice little
Mom
neighbors.
bited my finger.
Oh, well, he's got some vision issues, so that's why he might have tried to nibble your finger a little bit, because he can't see very good. It was not intentional. They also have goats. They have quite a few animals. We are planning on getting goats, and we are planning on getting sheep, looking into breeds, doing a little bit of homework. One of the things that Eric and I decided to do, I'm going to turn the camera back. One of the things that we decided to do when we purchased this property is we wanted to wait at least a year before we bought any livestock. Aside from chickens, I've been a chicken owner for several years and I've got experience with that. But before we bought any large livestock, well, and we still have a horse.
And one of the chickens,
Our property is not really set up for the horse yet. She is still out at another farm where we,
two of the chickens died.
right. The horse that we have is at a property where she's boarded right now. She's also our daughter's horse. So eventually she'll retire here on the property when we have more of an enclosure set up for her. But right now we don't. So back to what I was saying. Eric and I talked about it, and we really wanted to make sure that we lived up here and went through all the seasons prior to getting any livestock. So we really understood climate-wise how everything's going to be, and that we really did our homework, so we were really prepared before we jumped into buying large animals. A lot of times folks will buy a property and they'll dive in and get livestock and not really be ready for it. So we definitely wanted to be more ready for it, so we decided to wait until we'd really seen what this property is going to bring us seasonally. Our goal is to be fairly self-sufficient on the property. We want to be able to garden and grow our own food. I don't know for sure at this point whether we're going to have livestock for meat. Eric's not much of a chicken eater. We do have quite a few chickens for eggs, and we let them retire here when they're done. I'm going to go ahead and turn the camera around again. It's a quick shot of our neighbor's property, but as you can see, it is really foggy today. So, but this is the road down to our property. So this is our road. We do have a neighbor that has an easement on this property, and they use it, they have an easement on our road, and they have to use that easement in order to get down to their well, which is down, and their spring boxes are down at the end of the property. Come on, Lily. So if someone were to come to our property and drive up, this is what you'd see, and you can see our house up in the trees. The people that we bought this property from lived up here for a few months before moving up this manufactured home. And the original homestead was owned, we believe, by the Phelps family. I haven't done a lot of research on the history of it, but we sure see a lot of history just in digging through things on the property, finding different things throughout, tools that might have been used previously. One of the things that we found that was interesting in our barn was a seed sorter. One of my friends was interested in restoring it, so he took it, and I gave it to him just because we weren't thinking that we were going to use it for anything, but it's kind of a cool thing to have. So you'll see some of the fencing here. We believe there's a lot of rhododendrons in through here. Right here is where we believe the original home sat. There's a cement platform here. It's kind of a mess right now, but there's a cement platform here, so we believe that the original house sat somewhere along here. We know that there is a septic tank underneath. And as you approach the property, there's our little Kubota tractor. We bought that with the property. I think eventually we want a bigger tractor, but for now, this little Kubota has been really great. Eric bought a flail mower to go on that, so that's good for clearing a lot of areas. We did pick up a trailer when we got our... We don't need to do that. We did pick up a trailer when we got our cows because we wanted to be able to haul out if need be. The first year we were here, Well, not the first summer. It would have been the second summer we were here. We dealt with the fires and had to evacuate. We want to be able to load up our livestock fairly quickly and evacuate if need be. So our house is up here. I'm not going to go into real detail yet on the solar shed. You can see that separate building offset from the house, and you can see the tanks. Those are our propane tanks. There's a water tank up behind that. And then this little fenced in area by the house kind of got damaged in the snow. That is actually a berry garden. I'm going to be redoing that this spring, planting some new berries. Right now it has strawberries, marionberries, boysen's, and loganberries. But I do plan to put some more berries in there, blueberries and huckleberries, maybe some other things. They grow real well up here in that little fenced-in area. It does well to keep the deer out. We have quite a few deer up here. And then there's another little raised garden there. And that was primarily used, I think, as an herb garden. I used it for tomatoes this last year. It's also a real nice setup. They have water running to it already, so it's already... Lily enjoys climbing on the wood, or the rock pile, the rock mountain. We keep quite a bit of gravel up here to fill potholes. The entire logging road is a gravel road, so we often need to fill those potholes. So we keep quite a bit of gravel up here for those purposes. There were several outbuildings on the property when we moved here. That one was actually a shed, and I'll go into more detail about that in the future. It was a shed that was used just for garden tools, and you'll see I've been in the middle of cleaning, so there's some garbage out in front of it, but it was used for garden tools, and after a little bit of discussion between Eric and I, he agreed to let me use that as my chicken coop. So that is an enclosed chicken coop. I have 4 rooms in it. I've got large chickens and little bantam hens and silkies. Those are mainly for pets, but we do keep our chickens for eggs. And like I said, I've been experienced with the chicken keeping for quite a while now, and I will be doing several videos on what breeds I have, why I choose those breeds, and some of the challenges we've had up here on the property, including problems with red mites and poultry lice. So there's been some challenges again, and we're learning quite a bit about how to deal with those challenges. One of the buildings that we have here is a food storage building, and it's got very thick walls, which is great. We have some canned goods in here, and I'm going to be doing more canning. We don't have a lot of storage in here yet. The lady that lived here before left quite a bit of jars for us, which has been nice. But it's set up really well. It even has shelves that are set up for earthquake with little ledges to prevent anything from falling off in case there was an earthquake. So this stays probably 15 to 20 degrees cooler than the outside. Come on, Lily.
Not smell good.
We do have to do some maintenance on it, but as you can see, it's got some pretty big, thick walls. And so this is going to be for food storage. This other building is just a regular storage shed. We store things right now. There's stuff in it from the garage from back when we lived in the city. So long-term goals, we have a lot of plans for this property. As you can see, there's some area that was dug out. Eric had to run some new piping and new lines. Our well is right over here, and there's a generator, and that's where we pump water into our big tank. And there's a little wood shed where we keep our firewood. We primarily heat the house with a wood stove. We rarely ever turn on the furnace. We do have a furnace that they had to put in order for us to qualify for the VA loan. But for the most part, we use the wood stove in the winter, and it serves us well. It's been keeping our house pretty warm. Up above this trail is our spring boxes, and we found when we moved in that the water in the springs weren't as didn't test as well as the water in the well. The folks that lived here before were drinking the spring water. We've chosen to just drink well water, but the well water doesn't feed directly into the house. We actually pump it from a tank into a tank and from the tank into the house. So eventually we will be running the springs, but we just have to do some cleaning and get those spring boxes fixed up and then do some more testing. This little area is actually kind of a mini orchard right now. It has a prune tree, which has Italian prunes, one of my favorites from when I was a little girl. My grandparents had a farm, and you'll find me talking a lot about that. Part of the reason I wanted to live on a farm is because of my love for farming it was instilled by my grandfather. The other trees that they've planted, there's a couple other plum trees. We have a couple of cherry trees and some pear trees. And we do plan on putting in some more trees in our little orchard here. And I'm hoping that this area right here will also be used for a round pen for the horse eventually, but it'll be some time. And then behind that, you can see a fenced in area. And this is what is our garden. Needs a little bit of work right now. Another thing that we learned after moving here is that the gophers are a real problem. Gopher holes, moles, whatever they are, they wreak havoc and they pull up everything in the garden. So we are going to do primarily raised beds up here. So that's another thing that we're going to be working on and building is the raised beds. And then that area where the sun is shining through, that beautiful area up there, our property extends back into those woods. And so we are planning on sectioning off areas for livestock. There's some semi-fencing behind our garden. The garden is pretty good sized. That fencing is a deer fencing. It's to keep the deer out of the garden, and that has actually worked really well. So we will be working on this quite a bit in the spring, and I'll be doing some videos on setting up our garden. But what I plan to do with the livestock is pasture rotation. So the goal will be for the health of the soil and the health of the animals to do some rotating of our pastures. One of the areas that we've kind of sectioned off, you can see that roll of wire and the post that Eric's put in. There's some other posts along here by this very antique barn. This is going to be an area that will be for the goats and sheep that we're planning to get, and then we're going to run our Pyrenees in there with them for livestock guardianship. We definitely live in mountain lion and bear territory. We haven't seen them here on our property, but our neighbor has caught them on the trail cam. So we know that mountain lions are a concern. There's also bobcats up here. So we want to make sure that our livestock, our ruminants, like the goats and the sheep, will be protected. And so we did get Great Pyrenees, and they will be trained to do that. They are about 11 months old. They're almost a year old now, getting fixed soon, and they will be run out here. Right now they're in the barn just to prevent any kind of, we have a male and a female, we don't want them to breed. So this little shed was actually used as a peacock shed, and that will be a little shelter for our goats, sheep, and the dogs. The barn is a work in progress. So I know it looks really rugged on the outside. It does need a lot of work. It had electricity running through it, and we think that they ran that by a propane generator possibly a diesel generator at one time. But the goal will be to restore this barn. I really do love the structure. The inside has loft, and it's got good bones. It has been built, it was built years ago with a really good basic structure. It just needs a lot of work. And right now, with the cost of wood being what it is, we haven't had a chance to really work on it. But eventually, that's what we will do. We have a couple of little trailers here just for use for hauling things around on the property. And then here is our other Highland cow. This is Jenny, our naughty girl who likes to get out. I need to get in here and get some work done. It got kind of messy during the snowy days. We had probably 2.5 to 3 feet of snow. It's now melted off. That's Treebeard and Pippin. These goats are a friend's goats. They're just staying with us until she gets another property where she can have them. So right now they're just keeping Jenny company, and hopefully we will also use them to start training our Pyrenees. You'll see this fenced in area is really securely fenced and has done well to contain the critters. And so we will probably use this for a horse enclosure once we get our horse moved up here. She's a senior horse. Her name is Livy. She is a quarter horse, good sized quarter horse, but we're not quite ready to move her up here yet. And she is Lily's horse, yes. Turn this back around. I'd say of all of our Highlands, Jenny's probably the prettiest one. She's got the most perfect horns, and she's really a beautiful girl, but she is, like I said, an escape artist, and she's traipsed around our house and everywhere in between, and we get calls from the neighbors. She tends to get out, so that's why she's in here, because she can't get out of this enclosure. So we will be hopefully fencing the other area similar to this one. That's Mary. So the end of our property is right up here. It's again hard to see, but there is a ravine that goes over the edge and drops down. Right now it's all fog. Below that ravine is where our property line is. So there's some area that we hauled a bunch of stuff out of the barn that we're going to burn. So that's going to be burned there. That little shed was used for additional wood storage. And this path down here, I mentioned before, our neighbor's well and springs are down here. So the edge of our property is down in this wooded area. There's actually a creek just beyond this. I didn't mention where it is we live. We are fairly close to Silver Creek Falls, the Silver Falls State Park in Oregon, for those of you that know about it. That place holds a special place in my heart. I grew up going to camp there as a camper child and worked at the camp, at the residence camp at Silver Creek. And I also just love walking the falls. So it's one of my favorite places. And so when we found this property, the topography and the environment is so much like Silver Creek Falls that I just fell in love with it. That's part of why we decided it was the right place for us, and it just felt right. And I'll talk more in detail about that in the future. So I'm not sure if you can see that up a little ways up this little slant, there's a little pink flag, and that is the property line. So that is the corner of our property, and it runs down to halfway through this school bus, this old abandoned school bus that's been left here. That's going to be hauled off. It's been sitting here. There's been a lot of cleanup. There's a lot of old buildings. There's a lot of debris and a lot of junk that was dumped on this property. So we're going to have a lot of work ahead of us. But that's a big portion of the property. I'll be going on treks throughout the woods and other parts of the corners of the property and talking more about other parts of it in detail in future videos. But I just wanted to share a little bit about it.